Welcome everyone to German Tool Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at the Fit number 14 Shear Pliers. This is actually the only product made by the Dürholt Pliers company and comes in two forms. The number 14 pliers seen here come with acetate handles and are virtually unchanged in design and packaging since they were first developed in the 1950s. They also offer a slight variation, the number 15 pliers, that come with a more modern two-component handle and it's packaged in a carded display. You'll notice the very retro design of the packaging and what I assume is the same way it would have looked back in the 1950s. Of course, there have been some embellishments done over the years, such as the QA code. So let's go ahead and unbox this thing. Glancing at these pliers, they first don't look like anything special, but there is one particular feature that the Fit pliers have innovated upon. This is the shearing function of the pliers that is used to cut heavy materials and acts very much like a cable cutter. My first impressions of the pliers is that they were extremely hard to open. What I think is happening is because the shearing surfaces were not ground down, the raw heat-treated surfaces were sliding against each other. This blackened surface is not particularly smooth, and each time I open the pliers, some black material would chip off. I'm not really sure why these surfaces were not ground down like you would normally see in cable cutters. The surface grinding on the rest of the surfaces looked quite good. I especially like how they added their logo and Made in Germany directly into the forged pieces and then ground down to make it very clear and easy to read. This is something you commonly see in most Knipex pliers. Most other pliers manufacturers use laser etching or offset it into the pliers without surface grinding. The handles are made of acetate and have the style very much like most pliers that came out in the 1960s and 70s. They are stamped with Fit number 14 on the outside and Made in Western Germany on the inside. I have run into some products that are made today with the Made in Western Germany label, and it's common to products that would be prohibitively expensive to create a new mold and remove the Western portion of the text. The acetate handles are a much harder plastic than handle materials more commonly used today. Acetate products have been making a comeback lately because they're a much more environmentally friendly alternative to petroleum-based plastics since it is a 100% renewable material made from cotton and wood fibers. One negative of these acetate handles is that they are much more susceptible to gouging and chipping than a more forgivable material would be. As you can see here with a couple of marks and dings right out of the box. Not really a big deal to me, and for everyone else I wouldn't expect to get a perfect product right out of the box if you order these. My guess would be that most of these defects were probably done right after the injection molding and while the handles were still soft and pliable. I gave these my standard bottle still cleaning before using them to remove any other oils added to prevent corrosion. As indicated on the box, these pliers have three primary functions: nipping, cutting, and gripping. We'll go ahead and try some of these. First with the cutting of some cable and individual conductors. Next, we'll try cutting some sheet metal, one thing that these shear pliers claim to do. It definitely made some cuts on this 20 gauge steel, but I ran into a problem not being able to make a long continuous cut because the pliers are a bit too bulky. These long cuts are something that aviation tin snips are designed for and have contoured edges that are meant to slip into these gaps. Therefore, I would say for heavier gauge sheet metal, these are really only practical for making cuts of about a ½ inch or 12 millimeters in length. For thinner stuff, you might be able to get away with making longer cuts, but at that point you might as well be using normal shears. These would be good for notching sheet metal to create tabs, as you can use the same tool to make the cuts and the bends. Another function that these pliers claim is the ability to cut screws, which they indicate as a nipping action. Just below the joint are cutting surfaces similar to a side cutter that can be used for this. I tried this and it certainly works on moderately sized screws and nails. For larger ones you're going to have to use another tool. As for the gripping feature, the hardened teeth are quite sharp and perform much like any other gripping pliers in this class. Again, you'll notice all this black material coming off the pliers, and that is from the unground heat-treated shearing surface. If you're wondering how the shearing action compares to the typical nipping action seen on most pliers, it really comes into play when cutting very thick flat material like sheet metal. Combination and linesman pliers can certainly make a mark on the material, but don't have enough of the pliers making contact with the surface of the material to actually shear it. Thinking about some other material to use the shear surface on, I tried some aluminum clad electrical cable. With a lot of effort I was able to get through this, but this job is much more suited for larger linesman pliers, which made it much easier to cut the material. After using the pliers for a bit, you can start to see the metal showing on the shear surfaces. I'm wondering why they didn't just ground down the surface like you normally see. I would think it would make the pliers much easier to open and use, but I'm sure they had a reason for not doing this. So while it doesn't do any one job exceptionally well, its advantages lie in the fact that it can do much of the work of several pliers, and thereby is a really good fit in certain lines of work. Since they are cheaper than the other brand combination pliers in this length, it wouldn't be a bad pickup. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that look at the Fit number 14 shear pliers. Check out the link in the description to the full review. There's some affiliate links in the description if you feel the urge to pick this unit up. Have a good week, and I'll catch you guys next time.